Okay, so hello everyone and welcome back to today's webinar. So today we will discuss a very interesting topic today, the Burnet approach in homeopathy. The Burnet, we all know, the man who discovered the Bacillinum burnet, James Campbell Burnet. He has done some incredible and tremendous job in treating the pathological cases that we know. And this book, the 50 reasons for being an homeopath, is the must read book for all the homeopath. And so let's start. With his biography. James Campbell Burnet was born on 10th July 1840 and died in 2nd April 1901. Dr. Burnet attended a medical school in Vienna, Austria in 1865. He is a physician of orthodox medicine. So Alfred Hawkes, the name we have to remember, converted him to homeopathy in 1873 in Glasgow, and in 1876 he took his MD degree. The Burnet was the first to speak the ill effects of vaccine at that time in his book Vaccinocin. Along with other knowledge, he introduced the remedy Bacillinum that we all know. What interesting what Dr. G.H. Clark, Robert T. Cooper and James Campbell Burnet together form a Cooper's Club at that time, where they had a discussion over there. Clark says about the Burnet that was very interesting. During the last 20 years, Burnet has been the most powerful, most fruitful and most original force in homeopathy. That's interesting. So some of his great work I have to discuss. 50 reasons for being in homeopathy in 1888. Natrum as the test of doctrine of drug dynamization in 1878. Curability of cataract by medicine in 1880. Tumors of breast and its cure in 1888. The new cure of consumption in 1890. Curability of tumor with medicine in 1896. That's all his great works. So this book, I will just give you a glimpse of this book and let's start discussing the first reason. So what are the first reason for being a homeopath? Actually this book was actually it's not compiled of 50 reasons. Actually there was a friend of Dr. Burnet who used to tease him sarcastically, why are you practicing homeopathy after being a orthodox physician? So Dr. Burnet said, I won't give you a one reason, I will give you a 50 reasons. So these 50 reasons are actually the 50 letters that what Dr. Burnet wrote to his friend to inspire him why he used to do homeopathy instead of the orthodox physician. So first reason we will discuss about. A number of years ago, on a dreary afternoon, Dr. Burnet had partially occupied at the B hospital and writing some of his death certificate. He used to work in the hospital, B hospital at that time. At that moment, a old worker named Tim came with a dead body. So Dr. Burnet asked, who is that now? Little George, sir. So this Little George is very close with Dr. Burnet and belonged to nobody, and they all had liked him and kept him in the odd bed as one might his own pet animals. So they loved him a lot. So Dr. Burnet was so attached with Little Georgie. So what has came up to that? So on one day, Burnet wanted a bed for an acute case, and Dr. Burnet ordered Little Georgie to out of his bed in a warm and sun corner on the other bed that is in the front of cold window. That bed was of Little Georgie, which was ordered by Dr. Burnet, was in front of cold window. Dr. Georgie went to it and caught cold and had pleurisy, and after that he died. Dr. Burnet became so upset about the death of Little Georgie. So later that evening, he was sitting with one of his friends, and that friend persuaded him to study homeopathy. So he was so surprised, why should I study homeopathy? So he first read the Dr. Hughes Pharmacodynamics and Therapeutics. He read first book there, and after that he learned in that book that Fleming's tincture of aconite can cure the fever. Dr. Burnet was surprised that Fleming's tincture of aconite can cure fever. So there was a ward in his hospital. There was a ward of 6 children who was suffering from fever. So Burnet doctor ordered that nurse, the right side of the ward should be given the Fleming tincture of aconite and left side of the ward shouldn't be given the Fleming tincture of aconite. So next day when he came, the right side of the ward was cured by Fleming tincture of aconite except the one who was visible symptom of measles. So Dr. Burnet concluded aconite wasn't that effective in measles. That's what he thought. So he transferred that child to the measles ward. And left side of the ward condition were as it is because they were not given the aconite tincture. So Burnet was so surprised with the effect of homeopathy. After a few leaves, after that, the Burnet went for few leaves, and when Dr. Burnet again came back to the hospital, he saw all the children of the ward became healthy. They are completely okay. So Burnet asked how it is possible. The nurse replied. A most epic reply the nurse gave to Dr. Burnet. Well, doctor, as you know, you did not come around on Sunday and yesterday, so I gave your fever medicine, that is the tincture of aconite, to all of them, means to all of the children. And indeed, I had no heart to see you go to on with your cruel experiment any longer. You are like a young doctor that come here. You are only trying experiment. That was so interesting. So Burnet was so surprised with the effect of tincture of aconite. So what he concluded from here, from there, aconite was used to cure all the children with fever effectively, except in case of gastritis, where the children had the case of gastritis, aconite wasn't that effective. So that Burnet concluded like that, and this was the first reason why Dr. Burnet chose homeopathy instead of the orthodox medicine. So let's start discussing the Burnet approach towards a remedy. He divided his approach towards a remedy in 4 segments: the seat of action, the kind of action which a remedy produces, and the range of action the remedy produces, and the spot of action the remedy produces. He divided his sphere of action of a remedy in 4 sections. So seat of action, the particular part the which the remedy can act. The Hahnemann medicine in its pristine purity based on the psychodynamics is the finest principle being the given organ or the part of self-elective preferences. For example, the remedy like arsenic and phosphorus has so affinity in the lungs. They are so effective in lungs. For example, sulfur is a remedy which is mainly acted on the skin. So effective. That was the seat of action. We should be knowing the seat of action of remedy. Later in the kind of action, what is the kind of action a remedy can produce. For example, is same a given case of pneumonia. So can we give phosphorus by just knowing the phosphorus has a deep action on the lungs, on the respiratory system? Can we give phosphorus? No. We have to know the what kind of action the phosphorus can produce. It is interesting because the phosphorus can produce lessons, pulmonary lessons they can produce. They can cause phthisis and pneumonia as well. That's what the phosphorus can produce. Without knowing it, we can't give phosphorus like that. So what we concluded from here, we therefore arrived at a point where we admit that the remedy must not only affect the part as the disease, but the symptom of the drug. And the symptom of disease must be like one another. That's interesting, and that is very useful in day-to-day practice. Now the another point is the range of action. What is the range of action but whatever remedy can produce? For example, phosphorus in cases of pneumonia can cure chills of pneumonia. They can cure the chills of pneumonia very well, and patient might get cured, and later on it become worse. So why he become worse? Because he gave an example. In a foreign body, say a little nail get into the lung substance. Little nail like substance get inserted into the lung. The nail can be described as a microbes or something virus can be inserted into the lung, and it convert into distress of breathing, cough, bloody expectoration, etc. So can we give phosphorus now? We can give phosphorus, but it can only cure the chills part of it. But what about the remaining part? What about the distress in breathing? What about the cough and what about the bloody expectoration, which is due to that nail, which is due to that microbe? So we should be knowing the range of action that our medicine can produce. Phosphorus can't be useful at that time. That time we have to think of some another medicine. That can't be good. So now the spot to spot action we have while dealing a chronic case, for example a tumor or something like that, we should be knowing the spot to spot action of a remedy. Dr. Burnet gave a fabulous example of this. I was once attending a young girl over a series of years for repeated attacks of congestion of brain. She has a congestion of air. She flushes up hot and red with her pupils were wide open. She was restless. She tossed about and talked about nonsense. She was in delirium state. This is fair picture of poisoning by belladonna. Hence, bell was given each time, and each time it cured. Belladonna was given each time, and each time cured. But finally, one of the attack, the belladonna failed to act, and patient died. So one of the time the belladonna was given and patient died. So why it is possible? Because on the autopsy he found that there are formation of tubercles, there form of formation of tubercles in the brain. That's why our belladonna didn't act. So we have to check that why our medicine is spot to spot action, where it has where it is working, where it is not working, where it has stopped working. That's what we have to learn from our remedy. That was Dr. Burnett approach towards the remedy, the points we have to keep in mind while solving a chronic case. That's so important in dealing these cases. So that's all I know about Burnett, and I want to show reverence to all my gurus who taught me so much. You can contact me Nishan25smilebox@gmail.com and do subscribe to my channel.